While there are many great young big men with a lot of potential in the league, such as DeAndre Ayton, Marvin Bagley, John Collins, and Bam Adebayo, there's one guy who I think could be better than all of them, and it's Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Memphis Grizzlies. Selected with the 4th overall pick in the NBA draft in 2018, JJJ has established himself as one of the most exciting young bigs in the league because of his extremely unique playstyle. Standing at 6'11", 242 pounds, and a massive 7'4" wingspan, Jackson has the physical tools to absolutely dominate the league for years to come. In addition to this, he's also extremely athletic and mobile, has great defensive instincts, and at just 20 years old, still has time to mature both physically and mentally. In my opinion, him and Morant are poised to be one of, if not the best duo in the NBA at some point in the future. However, going back to Jaren's game, I'd like to focus on 4 things: his scoring ability, playmaking, rebounding, and finally his defense. Beginning on offense, one of the most intriguing aspects of Jaren's game is definitely his scoring ability. Unlike your traditional big man, Jackson has a skill set more similar to a guard, in the idea that he takes half of his shots from the 3-point line and makes them at a very efficient clip at nearly 40%. He ranks 14th amongst forwards in the NBA in threes per game and 32nd overall. The thing with Jaren is that many defenses don't expect him to hit these shots because of his extremely funky release. His shot is more of a push shot than a traditional one, and he releases towards his face rather than above his head. It's a lot flatter than your typical jumper, and he uses a lot of his guide hand rather than the traditional one-handed jumper we usually see. But there's no use in changing his form because it's clearly working, and he's extremely comfortable with it, even showing instances where he can pull it off the dribble with ease. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. JJJ's shooting ability contributes a lot to the Grizzlies' spacing and allows players like Ja to have extremely wide open driving lanes to the hoop, and allows for deadly pick and pop situations where defenses can't decide whether or not to close out on Jaren or allow the drive to the basket. Along with his great shooting ability from the outside, Jaren is a very capable finisher at the rim as well, hitting 70.2% of his shots from there on the season. He is a great roll man because of his length and athleticism, and has been one of the primary lob targets for the Grizzlies in this situation, as well as on fast breaks. In addition to this, Jaren has shown the ability to move like a guard when attacking the basket, breaking his defender down with crossovers, hesitations, and step backs, and finishing strong at the rim. His free throw shooting is decent at 74.1% on the year, which is enough to keep him in at the end of games, but I believe he can definitely raise it to around 80% later on in his career. If there was one aspect of his game that I would like to see improve more, it's his mid-range jumpers, which is something that he was known for in college. It has been nearly non-existent this year as he's only taken 32 shots from that range all season, hitting just 11 of them. He has also shown flashes of having a capable post-game down low, and with his great footwork, I feel that he could definitely be very effective there as his career progresses. Jackson's playmaking is another aspect on offense that makes him extremely unique compared to other bigs in the league. Like I said before, he moves very much like a guard and is very comfortable handling the ball. There have been numerous instances this season where he has broken down his defenders with his ball handling skills, which has led to open threes, finishes at the basket, and free throws. I feel that his ball handling will only get better, as he said in past interviews that it's one aspect of his game he feels he needs to work on to take him to the next level. And to think, his ball handling is already above average for his position, imagine what it'll be like in another 2 years and beyond. However, even with his ball handling skills, I feel that Jaren could definitely improve on his passing vision and court vision. There have been times where he has had tunnel vision, especially when driving to the basket, forcing up a tough layup when there's clearly an easier shot to be found. And don't get me wrong, there are instances where he makes beautiful passes, especially on backdoor cuts, but I feel with more experience, he'll definitely be able to recognize situations where he could either pass out of a shot or take it all the way to the basket. I'm extremely excited to see Jaren's evolution as a ball handler and passer, and I could see him being very similar to Kevin Garnett in this aspect of his game. However, not all is perfect with Jackson. His biggest glaring weakness is definitely his rebounding. Over his 2 years in the league, he's averaged just 4.7 rebounds per game. And to put this into perspective, Chris Paul and Kyle Lowry, who are both 6-foot guards compared to the 6'11 Jackson, grabs more rebounds per game than him. Imagine that. With such a long frame and physical gifts, you would think he'd be able to grab more rebounds, but that just isn't the case. The biggest reason for this is because he spends a lot of time on the perimeter, allowing guys like Valanciunas and Crowder to do a lot of the rebounding. And to his credit, when he isn't leaking out on the break, Jaren does do a pretty good job of boxing out his defender and putting a body on his man, denying them rebounds. So from a team perspective, I guess you could say he's doing his job pretty well. However, in the future, I would definitely like to see him step up on the glass, especially once Valanciunas' contract expires. I feel that Jaren would be great as a starting center, forming an extremely long and athletic front court with Brandon Clark, but with this, he'd have to focus a lot more on grabbing rebounds rather than running the break like he usually does. I could realistically see him averaging around 8 rebounds per game as the starting center for the Grizzlies, with 10 rebounds being a very optimistic ceiling. Finally, I'd like to talk about Jaren's defense, the aspect of his game where I think he could absolutely dominate the league. As is a recurring theme in this video, Jaren moves much like a guard rather than a big. However, on this end of the court, he's a very dangerous hybrid of both. On the perimeter, he's quick and light enough on his feet to keep up with even the fastest guards in the league, using his 7'4" wingspan to keep them in check on drives and also contest deeper 3-point shots. Jackson has proven himself as an above-average shot blocker on his career, averaging 1.5 per game. While the blocks may not be that of an elite shot blocker yet, Jackson does alter a lot of shots at the rim, making it hard on defenders going to the basket. In fact, this season Jackson ranks 10th in the league at blocks with 1.6 per game and 9th in block percentage. However, not everything is perfect on this end of the court, and aside from his rebounding, you could argue that it is the worst part of his game. Over his career, Jackson has averaged 3.9 fouls per game and a career-high 4.1 this season. This number leads the league and is the biggest reason why his production isn't as high as it should be. This has been a major issue as he's fouled out of games 8 times and has had 5 fouls 15 times this season. And the thing is, these fouls could be easily avoided as a lot of them are very minor fouls such as reaching in or biting on pump fakes. He needs to learn when he can go for these steals or blocks instead of just going for them at every chance he gets. I feel this is something he'll definitely learn from, and there are a lot of times when he gets into early foul trouble, which lowers his morale and leads to poor games for him. As time goes on and he gains more experience, this should be less of a problem going forward, and hopefully he can limit them to about 3 per game. With all that being said, Jaren Jackson Jr. isn't the perfect player, but he has all the tools and talent to become one of the best two-way forces in the future, and just one of the best players in the league in general, due to his extremely unique and positionless style of basketball. It'll be a lot of fun watching his career progress, and I expect a lot of big things out of him and the Grizzlies moving forward. Thank you very much for watching the video, and if you enjoyed, leave a like button, comment down below what you think is going to happen to Jaren throughout the course of his career, and subscribe to the channel so you know when I upload next. Thank you very much for watching, and remember, at just 11 years old, the FBI came after Jaren Jackson Jr. because he used to pirate movies, music, and TV shows before they came out.